Hi everyone, I'm just going to show you quickly this new journal that I just completed last night, and I got this in my vintage haul on the weekend, last weekend, and this is a vintage tea towel, and it's got needlepoint on it. Look how pretty this needlepoint is, and it's on this lovely pink border here. It's just to die for. The workmanship was lovely, very simple and pretty. And then I added some vintage doily around it, which has been, I believe, I'm not sure if that's crochet, apologies, I don't know. And so two separate bits of ephemera there, or ephemera fabric. And then I made the ties out of the trim from the tea towel. So let's have a look here. This is a spine of a book from the 1800s, and I made a little belly band out of it, and I slipped in this wonderful family photo. This is from my collection, and these are the cousins at Muskegon, Michigan, and I just think that's wonderful. So that's a nice big chunky one with some history on it. I love it. And just a nice children's page here, and a sweetheart pocket made out of antique paper. We've got the wildflower picture here from the English wildflower book. And look at this wonderful officer's roll book. And this is the roll call. This one's from 1926. Isn't that wonderful? From the Beacon Lodge. And over here on the flip side, these sweetheart pockets have all the good treasures. This is from New York City, and this is from 1939. Isn't that fantastic? And look at this happy mom and daughter here. Goodbye tape measure. And some really cool stuff on the other side. That's from the 50s. I've got some vintage stamps down here with a nice vintage cluster. This wonderful embroidery image from the Polish embroidery book from the 50s. Lovely image from a 1937 history book, and that's on France, that page. And this is very precious. Since it was kind of a pretty pink theme, I put in this vintage hanky here. Look at how sweet this is. And I just was thrilled that this could be in this journal. I was sad to give it away, but happy that it's gonna live here. Nice little journaling pocket there, just some pretty clusters. And everything in here, of course, is antique ephemera and vintage ephemera. No commercial anything, just some tea-dye pages that I added. Now this here is just a little Victoriana book, a vintage book, and I just glued down some antique paper to make it a little journaling spot. Always looking for places where I can add journaling spots for you. And look at these fashions. Wow, and that is from 1915 Girls Own Annual book. That gets a lot of attention. Here is a 1950s bingo card. And this here was, it fell out of a book, but it was a recipe for chocolate mayonnaise cake. Yummy and ooh at the same time. But the person had stapled it all together, so I left it as it was. And 1929 ledger page and a 1930s music sheet. A wonderful antique children's book here, Gateways to Bookland. Here's one of these magnificent Watchman's Guard clock faces. And a vintage playing card, which is just got that lovely Victorian silhouette there. Some wonderful clusters here. A vintage recipe on chocolate cake. Better than the mayonnaise cake, I think. And this here is so special. This is from November 22nd, 1889. It's just a business letter, and we text now, we email, and this is how they had to correspond back in the day. It would have been a 1 day or less delivery at that time. 1928 Billboard magazine page with hilarious now to read them advertisements. Canasta sheet for journaling. 1930s Monopoly money. A 1934 Paris Almanac page. That one is from July. And this wonderful vintage bird page here. It is glossy, but it is vintage. I actually prefer the non-glossy pages, but it was so spectacular that I had to include them in this lot of books this week. Just some more antique and vintage pages here. Stamp collector's book. Just a wonderful little cluster on this little journaling spot on a French textbook page. And look at this pretty little receipt here. Actually, it's not a receipt. This was from a mom who had her feeding her child formula, and they used to give out these helpful hints. Isn't that wonderful? And that was hidden inside a book, and this is from 1951. That's very cool. Over 70 years old. Just some vintage trim here. Another American Garden page, another children's book page, and a little pocket I made out of that trim. And this is from 1890's, and it's got a beautiful little poem here, and a pretty image of a rose. So there we go. It's lovely. It's going up on Etsy momentarily, and I hope you'll subscribe so you can see them before they get to Etsy. Thanks so much.